Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of season 5 of CCFR Radio on the Air. I'm your host, Rod Giltaca. Thanks for joining me again today on the show. It is a blockbuster. So the CCFR has found itself in the middle of a national scandal, and it's regarding some leaked audio from a conversation with the current Minister of Public Safety, Gary Anandasangri, and a gun owner. Lots of sparks flying over that. The government also is rolling out its confiscation pilot project in Cape Breton. Liberal Minister of Justice, Sean Fraser, defends Bill C-5. That's one of the 2 bills that have created this decade of crime, violence, and chaos here in Canada. Also, the Liberals are telling gun owners that the confiscation program is voluntary. That's pretty interesting. And I also want to talk about some misguided court decisions here in Canada. You won't believe what the courts have been up to. All that and more. CCFR Radio starts right now.
CCFR Radio on the Air is brought to you by Wild TV Plus, the best hunting, fishing, and outdoor content available anywhere, anytime, on any device. Visit wildtvplus.ca.
All right, we are back now. I'm going to start the episode off with some bad news. The bad news is Ms. Wilson will not be joining us tonight. She is sick as a dog. I called Tracy this morning to find out what time we're going to record. She picks up the phone. She's like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, you sound sick." And she said that she was so sick that she could barely get out of bed. So I told her, "You do not have to do this. I will handle it this time around." That is the bad news, because it's always great to have Tracy on. But the good news is well, that's sort of good news. A lot of information is circulating around right now. It's very important and serious information concerning your ability to legally own and use firearms and continue to be legal in that capacity. The good news is I have all of the information for you today. Okay, so very important. The Liberal government is rolling out the confiscation program. It's what they're calling a buyback. Now, I try not to use their language for obvious reasons, but they're rolling out a pilot project in Cape Breton. I'm going to give you and Tracy and I actually attended the technical briefing with public safety yesterday. We have all the information that is available now. I'm going to share that with you in the next segment because there's a bit of it. But for the rest of this segment, I'm going to show you a couple clips and caution you. The Prime Minister of Canada and the Minister of Public Safety, along with all kinds of other Liberals, are spreading some misinformation that the confiscation program, the buyback program, is, they're saying that it's voluntary. And I guess that depends what you mean by voluntary, but that's what they're spreading around. So I want to caution you about that. So before we get going again, I'm going to play you a couple of clips. So this is Prime Minister Carney saying this, followed by the Minister of Public Safety, Gary Anandasangri, saying it. And then I left the last little bit in this clip about they're talking about these gun bans and the confiscation program. And then they continue on, or Gary Anandasangri continues on to say, "Oh, but by the way, there's still 19,000 models of firearms that are still legal." Anyway, check it out.
Have been instructed not to participate in any gun confiscation. What do you intend to do on the firearms file specifically? And what do you make of Premier Smith's position?
I'm not going to, the exact quote, maybe I'll leave the quote aside, but I'll pick up one word there, confiscation. This is not about confiscation. This is about voluntary return of firearms for compensation of these firearms. We're not confiscating guns. People aren't going around confiscating guns. That is anyone who says that is a mischaracterization. What it is an opportunity for Canadians to return guns for compensation. And let's be clear, we are not talking about hunting rifles. We're not talking or sport shooting or anything like that. We're talking about assault rifles. We are talking about weapons of serious weapons. Let's put it that way.
This program is voluntary. Nobody is having their weapon confiscated. People who use rifles to hunt can still hunt. If you want to purchase a hunting rifle, there are 19,000 legal options available in the Canadian market.
All right, so I want to caution you that this program is not voluntary. The government is providing you with a couple of different things that you can do to be in compliance. And if you don't do these things, you'll become a criminal, right? And the charge is unauthorized possession of a prohibited firearm, which is, in the eyes of the law, you were caught with a machine gun. It's the same charge. It's a very serious criminal charge. And, you know, if you're caught with one of these guns, you're going to be found guilty of it. So the idea that it is, the idea that it's voluntary is ridiculous. Now, they could have said that program, the compensation program, was voluntary if they had given you an option of grandfathering. Then you'd be like, okay, well, I want to keep the gun and use it, and then maybe when I die, I can pass it down, or it gets confiscated with no compensation. Like that's a voluntary situation. What they're describing is not voluntary. So anyway, I'm going to give you all the details in the next segment, as I mentioned, about this buyback that's rolling out. The other thing I'll mention is the 19,000 available models. If you guys remember, right, in the last 2 seasons, we've had clips where liberal MPs are saying, "Oh, you know what? There's only a handful of guns we're prohibiting. Don't worry, you have 19,000 models left." It's funny because the first time that was mentioned, we've had 2 more bans since then that banned like 400 or 600 more models. And they're like, it's still 19,000 for some reason. So I don't know how they get that math to work, but it is what it is. All right. I'm out of time for this one. When we come back, we're going to talk about the confiscation program, the so-called buyback, and everything that you need to know about it. So stick with me.
The assault-style firearms compensation program provides a way for firearm owners to safely dispose of and or deactivate their assault-style firearm and receive compensation in return.
Well, there you have it from Liberal Minister of Public Safety Gary Ananda-Sangri. The confiscation program pilot project is being rolled out in Cape Breton, and they have also committed to rolling out this program nationwide within about a month and a half. It seems to be the consensus from them. So yesterday I attended a technical briefing from Public Safety Canada. Wilson was there. Our General Counsel, Michael Loberg from Loberg Ector in Calgary, Alberta, was there. And here is the program as far as we understand it. All right, number 1, the firearms program is going to send a letter out to everyone that's got a PAL saying, hey, you know what, this buyback is actually going forward. If you have one of these firearms, you know, here's where you can find the list and all the rest of that stuff. You can register and apply for compensation. Now, this is going to be done through a web portal. There's also going to be services where people can talk to somebody, a call center, and that's for people maybe that aren't computer savvy. So I'm only going to focus on the portal. So basically, they're going to have this website portal. You put in all your information, your PAL and whatnot, and what it's going to do is it's going to pre-populate for any restricted firearms that you have. Remember, restricted firearms are registered. It's going to pre-populate all those restricteds that are now prohibs. So they're going to basically saying, we know you have these, so you're turning those in 100%. And then you're going to be able to put in all of the other firearms, which is the overwhelming majority of the firearms that have been banned over the last 5.5 years. They were non-restricted, and there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them. This is going to be important later. So you're going to put in whatever it is you want to claim. You're going to hit submit, and then it goes into the queue. Now, the government has told us that they are not going to pay for all firearms that are going to be submitted. So basically, what happens is when they open this portal up, it is a race. You are competing against all the other firearm owners in Canada. It is a race to tell them what you have and document it and send it to them. And basically, they have a budget. They say the budget for this project is $742 million, although some of that budget has already been consumed on the retail portion of this. And it's capped, meaning that if you know, tons of people go in and they tell them what the government has, or tell the government what they have, basically the government's going to be paying them out first come, first served, paying gun owners out to the point where there's no money left, and then they're not compensating you at all. Like you're just out everything, but you've already told them what you have, so you have to turn it in for destruction. or a couple of other options. But that's what they're doing. They're pitting you against all the other firearm owners to run in there and tell them what you have, because you might not get paid if you don't do it fast enough. Interesting. I don't know. Anyway, if you don't turn your firearm in for destruction, whether you get compensated for it or not, the choices that you have is you can export it from the country. So if you know someone in the United States, you'd be like, you don't want my ARs or whatever else, my GSG 16s, the 22, the 22 semi-auto 22s, you can export them. If you want to deactivate them, you can do that. So that basically, if you think of in terms of an AR-15 or something, they weld the action shut, they block the barrel, weld the barrel inside, or whatever it is that they do. They make it so that this thing can never be restored to an actual gun anymore. Then it actually isn't a firearm anymore. You can actually put it on the wall, a $2,500 piece of art, I guess, for the wall. Now that process from a verified, certain group of gunsmiths that are verified to do that will cost somewhere between $400 and $700. And if you choose to do that, you can put in for compensation to get that money back. But if the budget is exhausted, you don't get paid for that either. Anyway, pretty wild. So those are your choices. Or of course you can turn it in for nothing. But once that's all complete, then fine, you're out your firearms. Maybe you're getting a check at some point in the future, or you're getting nothing, and that's it. The government's, their political ploy that they've done with this whole prohibition and buyback, you're paying the bill for it. So I don't know, add that to your taxes, I guess. If you fail to do any of those things and you hold on to the firearm, you become a criminal in unauthorized possession of a prohibited firearm, like I said in the opening monologue. So you're going to be sitting on these things that are basically, in the eyes of the law, machine guns for the rest of your life or what have you. So anyway, so much for a voluntary program, right? So those are your choices. So it's pretty interesting. I will tell you this, if a whole bunch of gun owners run in and there are thousands and thousands of people who don't get paid, but now the government says, give up these guns for free now. If there's a case, the CCFR will sue them, because this is completely ridiculous that the government is going to play politics, take your guns away while they let criminals run free on the streets to terrorize and murder Canadians. And they're like, oh, you can just pay for that out of your pocket. This has been good for us. We won the last election. It won't stand. And I'm having this looked into right now. If there's a case, then the CCFR will pursue legal action against the government. All right. I'm over time already, but when we come back, I'm going to tell you some interesting information about this budget of $742 million and also the number of firearms they think they're getting back. But anyway, we'll be right back. All right, we are back, and I have some information that's it's going to blow your mind. Wait till you hear this, okay? So I'm in this public safety briefing yesterday. Wilson's in there, our general counsel's in there, Mike Loberg, and I had the opportunity to ask a bunch of questions, and I asked a lot of questions because I have questions. And one of them was, the $742 million, how many firearms are you expecting to buy back for that money? So remember, they're buying back firearms, and they're reimbursing people for deactivations, right? $400 to $700 is what it should cost to legally deactivate a firearm. And so that's all coming out of that pot. So he said, we think we're going to bring in 152,000 firearms. And I was like, what? They banned 1,550 models. The RCMP banned probably another 800 or 900 based on variant status. Then the second ban, they banned another like 330 models. And then they banned another handful of models in that third ban. And then the odd additional reclassification as a variant status that the RCMP does. Like it's thousands and thousands of models of firearms, which probably translates to 500,000 firearms. I don't know. It could be 1 million. Nobody knows, because the overwhelming majority of those are non-restricted. So he's like, yeah, we think that, he goes, we know that there's 126,000 restricted long guns. We're getting those because government knows you have them. And we're going to pay for 152 in total. And I'm like, so what, like out of the, I don't know, 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 long guns that are out there, you're going to pay for another 20,000 of them or 16,000, whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, so everyone's going to rush in, tell you what they have, and you're just going to tell people like hundreds of thousands of firearms, like they have to be turned in for no compensation, or you have to deactivate them at $400 to $700 each out of your pocket in order to not go to jail. Is that right? Yep. True story. I don't know if this is going to happen. Obviously, we are going to do everything we can to expose this and take them to task for it. Might even sue them because they're actually a little bit wide open on that. So there's a national scandal. And in the middle of the scandal is the CCFR, the Public Safety Minister, Gary Ananda Sangari, and a leaked conversation that was recorded without Gary's knowledge. So Gary, the Public Safety Minister, we're going to call him Gary A for now. So Gary A owns some properties. He rents them out. He was not doing things that need to be done on one of these properties. So his tenant that has been a tenant for years, him and his wife, had Gary come over, that he wanted to record the conversation so that he could play it to Gary if Gary didn't do the things that he was supposed to on the property. But towards the end of the conversation, Gary, I guess, wants to be this guy's buddy because he knows he's a gun owner, starts talking to him about the buyback and says a bunch of things like, we know that, this isn't, if we had it over to do over again, we wouldn't do this. We would do bail reform and tighten up the border, like admitting that this isn't going to do anything. Oh, we inherited this and Carney told me I got to do it. And I can't explain the logic to you because I don't know, basically. Plus he says, oh, this thing's voluntary, again, to this guy, individual. Now, Gary is a lawyer. So this guy is counseling somebody on how to break the law, right? Then the gun owner says, well, hey man, I could be arrested. I could be charged for this. And Gary says, well, I'll pay to bail you out. And he goes, and I'm going to get screwed on the pricing. The pricing's too low. And Gary goes, I'll make up the difference personally and pay you. And so it's just, so anyway, the gun owner is a supporter of the CCFR. We got this audio clip, we leaked it, and it has just exploded. It is everywhere. So Ananda Sangari goes to do the press conference yesterday about rolling out this buyback pilot. And this is what happened to him. I'm just going to play you just a tiny clip, but check it out.
Why did you offer to pay someone the difference in compensation and bail them out of jail? You're a minister. Why'd you say that?
Let's maybe put this in context. This was a private conversation with an individual that I've known for many years. I said these two issues frankly, in bad humor, that is being misinterpreted. It is very clear that there was a private conversation. It is with someone. It is an acquaintance.
You told you well, should we believe what you said on the phone?
Well, first of all, it's not the phone. It was in the context of a private conversation in person. What is important is that if you look at it in context, that was not a serious attempt. It was a bad attempt at humor on my part. It was in no way to suggest that they will either I will bail them out or otherwise. That is not.
You should do humor about? Is it a subject you should do humor about?
Let's look at the context of it. It was a 20-minute conversation.
Man, this is so bad. This is a case of liberals will tell the truth when they think no one is listening, right? So he says all this stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I'll bail you out. If you get arrested, it's voluntary. You don't have to comply and all this. I'll pay out of my pocket for the difference if you get screwed. It's like, well, what about everybody else? I guess they can burn. It's just crazy. And now get this, it gets worse. Ananda Sangari is getting lit up in the House of Commons. So he tries to turn it like he's the victim. Anyway, check this out.
Mr. Speaker, I've addressed this issue a number of times, but let me just make it very personal, Mr. Speaker. The last 4 months in this role as Minister of Public Safety, I've received a great deal of vitriol from the gun lobby, Mr. Speaker. If you go into my social media accounts, you will see hundreds, if not thousands, of comments of hatred that's coming through the gun lobby, Mr. Speaker. What the party opposite is doing is reinforcing that.
Ah, well, there you have it. Gary's the real victim here of all this, right? Anyway, you can't even make this stuff up. Okay, I'm out of time for this segment, but when we come back, I've got a little bit more information for you, so stick with me. All right, we are back. As usual, I only have you for about a minute and a half, so I can't talk about Sean Fraser and Bill C-5. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next episode. But I just want to mention these two court cases. So if you remember in CCFR versus Canada, the government clearly abused the order in council, this legal instrument that they have. And basically the federal court and the Court of Appeal said basically the government can do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, for any reason it wants, right? So it was quite disappointing. And then you have these other two cases, and I might have mentioned them before, but check this out. Here's one of them. Ontario Appeals Court ruling that blocked Toronto bike lane removal. And if you look at the decision, it says Justice Paul Chabas ruled on July 30th that the removal of certain bike lanes will put people at risk of harm and death, which engages the right to life and security of the person. This is a charter violation. Bike lanes are a right for self-defense, basically, or your security of person. But firearms, you have no right for those. It is completely inappropriate to have those to save your life if someone is trying to take it, right? Anyway, check this other one out. The federal court quashes cabinet order underlying single-use plastic ban. So basically what the court said was banning single-use plastics like plastic shopping bags and straws was a bridge too far. It was an infringement of Canadians' rights. So I don't know. I don't have time to elaborate on this, but this is completely crazy to me. I don't know what's going on with the court, whether it's coming or going. I don't know what's going on with them. But this is the stuff that goes on. And we just got to keep fighting for our ability to own and use firearms. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Take care, and we will see you in the next one.